someone there to call your own. Just remember, my dear friend, you're not alone.
There are some moments that feel so ecstatic. Uh, it's hard to describe. I guess that the only thing I could compare it to is like a rush or a high. It's very interesting when your body knows exactly what to do, when your hands know exactly how to move the brush to create something and do that before your mind actually thinks about it. My inspiration goes back to since I was young. As a child, I really loved doing things with my hands, creating things, making toys. And from the time I was able to make some scribbles, write some letters, I found myself trying to recreate things that were already in my environment. So I started drawing. Well, of course, everyone started with the stick man. And as time passed, I got better. At that time, it was just the enjoyment of creating. But as I got older, it became a bit more to me. Art became a form of expression as an outlet, and it became something I could have used as a coping mechanism as well during some difficult situations or times. And that's also what inspired our events. So we do art and mental health events. Our first one was back in 2021, whereby we make persons aware of the connection between art and mental health, of how it is able to help us to de-stress, to process emotions, and to reflect. So at that event, we were able to have a psychologist on hand, a certified psychologist that is, and have persons engage with her, have performances on mental health, like poetry or music, and also have a session that persons were able to give affirmations, I am affirmations, and build their spirit in the moment of the event. So what I wanted to do was share the importance of art to me with the world and use it in a manner that is purposeful and impactful that can better someone's life. And I believe that's what you call finding a purpose through passion. When it comes to the mental health aspect, a good example would have been in terms of dealing with anxiety and panic. That is something I have dealt with for quite a few years. And engaging in art allows you to de-stress. One, it engages different parts of the brain, particularly your right brain, and also is able to reduce cortisol levels, hence de-stressing persons. At that time, it felt like I was drowning and there wasn't anyone that could have possibly understood what I was going through and be able to help at that point in time. So I used art as an outlet to express these things and unburden myself in whatever ways I could. It gave me a moment to reflect back on the very same emotions I was going through, because in the midst of creating, you're able to go through each of the emotions that are all jumbled up, and you have a better view of it. Your mind is actively working while you're creating. So at the end of it, you're able to look at it in a different way, have a different perspective. Maybe this isn't the reason why this is happening. So this painting here, the title is Command, and this is using acrylic paint on canvas. This has been my very first painted portrait that I've done. This one was inspired by a photograph I saw of a model online, and I thought it was the perfect thing to capture a play on feminine power in a patriarchal society, as can be seen with Asian societies. And it was perfectly captured through her expression while giving a hint of her cultural aspects using a Chinese umbrella. It was given the title Command since her expression itself is one that is both domineering and commanding. This one here is titled Lighthouse. I wanted to capture a bit of our history and landmarks into one of my paintings, so I decided to do this. This is also an acrylic paint on canvas, and this was exactly how it was captured at that point in time. where part of the building was fading and the paint was deteriorating. And the other one over here, now this is something experimental I did. I came across these bamboo strips one day in the craft store and decided I could put it together in some way. I already loved the geometric art a lot, so I decided to use it into geometric designs. This particularly is one of the tribal geometric designs. I don't think there is a right or wrong way to paint, but that might vary from person to person. Different artists have different viewpoints, and if you are an established, trained artist, I think they might have opinions that differ from mine. But I think at the core of it for me, it's all about expression and the process. I paint for the art process, not for the outcome. The reason is because there are moments where you enter what is called a flow state, where it's like your body knows what to do before your mind does. And that is an amazing state to be in. There are paintings that I've done that had that feeling that I didn't want to part with, but I eventually parted with them. Expression isn't the only thing or only function of art. Art also has functions that relate to cultural transmission and historical transmission. You're able to capture different cultural traits within your paintings or whatever art style you use. So I started doing some research on my own Indian culture because I don't have an in-depth cultural background with the way I grew up. So yes, I started reading up and I started creating artwork that captured a bit of my own Indian identity, and as well as other identities that exist within Guyana. Because as a Guyanese, you're not simply just East Indian or African or Chinese. You're actually a combination of all those cultural aspects. Your identity is actually Guyanese. I have one piece that is already sold that was targeting racism actually. It was titled I Am Guyanese, and what it did was capture every single race in Guyana into a single person, like fragments of a single person to show that we are all a melting pot of cultures. I love detailed artwork, but I don't love it at the same time. I have a love-hate relationship with that because it tests your own patience, not just your patience with the work itself, but your patience with yourself. And I think that is something that is important to your relations with people as well. Through art, you realize that patience is not a one-sided thing. You do have to engage yourself in patience as well. There are times where you have to be patient with your own reactions. If you are starting as an artist, this might sound a little harsh, but the first step, I think, is getting out of your own way. Because most persons start with a lot of self-doubt. They are unsure of the response they'll get from the persons around them, and they're also unsure of their ability or the quality of their work. But in the end, everyone starts as a beginner. No one starts as an expert, and you have to appreciate the journey and the process of becoming the artist you want to be. You have to be able to create a habit of practicing art, whether it's daily or every other day. Create the habit of creating. I think another good thing that you can do is find mentors. Look for other artists that are already established. Learn about how they got to where they are. Learn about their process. They can teach you things about techniques. They can give you advice. I can say that initially I didn't have any mentors, but with networking and doing work through my creative business, I was able to meet a lot of persons and get a lot of advice. Also, you should be teachable. Be open to criticism. You're always going to find room for improvement, and criticism is a good place to start. Take what you need. You don't need to take everything that is said to you. Lastly, in becoming an artist, especially if you're serious about it, You should be knowledgeable in the areas like your subject matters. If you're going to examine, let's say, social issues, you should be knowledgeable on those social issues, because art isn't just expression alone, it's also intellectual in the sense that you have to have experience and knowledge to be able to create something that people can relate to and connect with. I think for the longest while, my muse has been women. I've had a lot of paintings of women. And then there was a period where I had an obsession with the leaves. I had like quite a few paintings that were just leaves in different ways and different forms. So it depends. There are times, like for example, with the women, you can look at things like the struggle of women. You can look at the attributes of women. With the leaves, I was studying nature at that point in time. And at that time, another thing too with painting or any form of art is that you exercise mindfulness. And it goes back into why it's used as a tool for emotional processing, because you become very aware of how you feel in the midst of painting. And you would see it happen a lot too. Like persons that sip and paints, like they would say that they're not good at it, and then you'll see the frustration come out. And then gradually you'll see them move from the frustration to accepting that, I'm actually able to do this. And then little by little they're appreciating the painting itself. And then when they finally get the moment to step back and look at it, they feel a sense of accomplishment. Artwork is one of the easiest ways to create a sense of accomplishment within a very short period of time. If you struggle with that feeling, that art is a good way to go. So at Artful Expressions, we sell a variety of artworks. These include acrylic paintings, pencil drawings. The pencil drawings can be portraits, so if you would like to have a portrait done of your loved one, that can be done. We also do bamboo canvases, such as these. So these are done in geometric patterns here, and they're made from bamboo strip and acrylic paint. We also do handmade cards, we do bookmarks, we do watercolor works as well. We do a reasonable amount of concept work. You can see the paintings that I've done on my social media pages. I don't post all of my work because some of them are very personal, whether it's for the person that commissioned the piece or for myself. Art, like any other area, requires discipline and patience. And well, the way I look at it, I treat it as a business. Yes, a lot of people see art and think that it is something that you'll have a seasonal income with, but every business works the same way. There's some months where you're gonna have high income versus other months you're gonna make losses. However, there is room for it to work, but you have to understand that there's a lot of work put into it. You have to make the effort and the time. It's not just creating the art, but you have to understand that you'll devote a lot of time to your business. You'll have to market these for yourself. You'd have to engage persons to buy. It's like, depending on how your business is structured, if you're a single artist like I am, you are the person doing everything for your business. So Artful Expressions has two areas, which is we provide artworks of various types, and we also do creative events. So with the creative events, we try our best to create an experience that is unforgettable. We do sip and paint. Sip and paint is something that is more popular today, but we try to make our sip and paints as differentiated as possible. We try to make it into an intimate atmosphere where persons can connect. They can have live music there. They can have lovely foods to dine with, and possibly add in other activities. For example, with the mental health ones, we would have performances, we would have talks, and we would also have segments for things like affirmations. We look at target areas that are important or not usually seen within these type of events. Exhibition style events, on the other hand, we try our best to engage other local artists or creatives. Our previous exhibition style events wasn't limited to only artists. We had persons that made things like natural products, fashion displays. Yes, so it's not limited. So it's not just about us being able to exhibit our own work alone, but being able to create a platform that that can also exhibit the works of others and promote others, help them to also establish themselves as artists or local businesses themselves. So when it comes to the appreciation of art, I've noticed that in Guyana we don't have such a great appreciation. A lot of the members of our public aren't that aware of the importance of art or the value of art. You see the appreciation show through when it comes to works such as portraits. Persons have more of an appreciation towards that because they link it towards having created something that is for someone that is cherished and loved. I found that most of my sales came from persons that were overseas, and those were sales when it came to concept artwork. So I've had sales from a person from the UK, someone from Jamaica, persons from the US. But I see that the appreciation for it is building. There are a lot of events that are taking place in Guyana that do involve local artists. We can look at events such as the We Lift Women Empowerment event that was held by the Ministry of Human Services. There was the International Building Expo. There was the Cricket Carnival. Those were events that included artists and events that I took part in. However, even with those appreciation, I do think there is room for improvement when it comes to infrastructure. There are certain things to take into consideration, such as ensuring that there isn't any damage caused to a person's work due to the facility you decide to have that event in. And also when it comes to the security of the work as well. We have to keep in mind that the weather conditions do affect our artwork depending on the type. And I think for sure there's going to be a lot of improvement with time. I'm more geared towards art and mental health, so I'm looking towards getting into art therapy, although I haven't actually studied that field. So that is something I aspire to in the future. And in Guyana, I know that there are 0 certified art therapists, so that is definitely something to aspire to. I thought to myself that art is part of my purpose, so I had to find a way in which I can use it for that. When I went to school, we didn't have a visual arts teacher, so I had no experience with arts or being taught any form of art. All of this is self-taught through trial and error. I do think it is important that art is something that is budgeted for and developed because, like I said earlier, one of the functions of art is to capture our cultural and historical nature. So it helps to transmit these things for the years to come. You can look at examples like hieroglyphs, Egyptian hieroglyphs, how their history is painted on the walls, or even locally think of our indigenous petroglyphs. Those are all stories that are told through art. I think there's a lot that can be done with our creative industry. Particularly, I recall reading this once where they say if you want to look at the development of a country, look at its creative industries and how it's thriving. Because art isn't necessarily seen as a necessity, but rather a luxury item. My name is Maharanie Jhillu, and I'm the founder and artist of Artful Expressions. Artful Expressions is a creative enterprise where you can get a variety of artwork as well as attend events hosted by us. Our artwork uses a variety of mediums such as pencil, acrylic paint, watercolor, and even bamboo strips. As for our events, on the other hand, we do sip and paint style events, exhibition style events, and mental health workshops, as art has a very strong connection when it comes to mental health. If you are interested in getting something done, for someone special or just see something that catches your eye, you can contact us at Artful Expressions 592 on Instagram and Facebook, or you can message me on 613-0016.
There is always someone there to call your own. Just remember, my dear